it's about getting into schools and talking to young people, because, you know, I know that people can change. And it's about talking to people and getting them to understand and perhaps step back from violence and prejudice and whatever. And we just need to work together and keep on the good fight there.
Absolutely. Hey there, guys. We are ecstatically happy to announce that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation.
The times are changing, and with the unfortunate death of Sophie, those changes have made a massive impact for the future. If Sophie was with us still today, I can guarantee what you are doing will still be reaching so many lives of young teenagers, young adults, and those who wish to be as different as possible. So thank you very much.
To find out more about this incredible foundation and all the work they do, and more importantly, how you can help, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
Hey Jamie, do you like being cozy?
I do.
And do you like staying cozy?
I like that even more.
Then just heading over to www.staycozyclothing.com,
where you can find hoodies, tees, sweaters, and much, much more.
And just enter The Chronicles as one word at checkout to receive 10% off your order.
And make sure you follow them on the Instagram at Stay Cozy Clothing to keep up to date with all the new designs.
Remember, guys, that's The Chronicles as one word at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And now back to this week's episode.
Hey there, this is Ron Wasserman, the nut that wrote Go-Go Power Rangers, and you are listening to Tom and Jamie present the Chronicles of Podcast. There you go. Listen, listen, listen. You're going to love it.
Well, thread some needles with my ass, boys. Welcome to hashtag WBW, Way Back Wednesday. And these are the Chronicles of Paul Rugg. Why Paul this week, Jamie?
Well, Mr. Rugg is a absolute legend in the world of animation. And we're speaking to an animation storyboard artist and director this Friday in Amber Hollinger. So just seems to work pretty well to me.
Put it all together, exactly. Paul is one of the guys behind the phenomenon that is Animaniacs from back in the 90s. Unbelievable cartoon. I need to go back and watch them, actually, because I think I'd quite like to see them again, just to, you know, reminisce and remember the good old Saturday morning kids' TV used to wake up and be all excited with my 2 bowls of cereal. But
somehow not surprised by that at all.
Dad used to call me a Teletubby. Again. Anyway, so it was, Paul was an absolute genuine legend. This is one of my favourite interviews, this. It's so funny. He is so naturally hilarious as well. And it was a true, genuine pleasure and honour to talk to the man himself. All about Animaniacs, all about Freakazoid, working for Warner Brothers, working for Steven Spielberg, and all that sort of. It's just the story about who reads scripts is one of my favourite stories ever.
It is superb. This interview, like you say, is just so much fun. It's so fun. And the man's an absolute legend. Like you say, Animaniacs. He created Freakazoid. He's just done so much in his awesome career. And not just writing and directing. He was puppeteering. He does voice acting. He likes to keep busy, does old Mr. Rugg.
Absolutely. And obviously he's currently got a series on Disney Plus called Earth to Ned. So please go and check that out as we speak right now. Well, wait.
I have watched Earth to Ned. It's fantastic. You definitely have to go check it out.
Still waiting. Go watch it.
I'm trying to encourage you while he's waiting. So if you haven't been encouraged by now.
Come on, go watch it. Disney Plus, Earth to Ned. Go press it. Off you go. Anyway, so yeah, hope you enjoyed that thoroughly. The only thing that really, really does my head in is the fact that my internet decided to cut out within the last 15 minutes or so of the show.
Oh, yeah.
So I disappear for about 15 minutes. While you were talking about Earth to Ned, I missed all of it. And as I came in, obviously, he had a go at me for mowing the lawn at night. So
I completely forgot about that.
So I'm disappointed because I was so looking forward to talking to Paul and I was enjoying it, and then I got booted out. Bloody internet. So, but still, this is an absolute wonderful roller coaster of an hour interview that you will just love it so much. I don't want to give any more away. But if you're a fan of Animaniacs, a fan of Freakazoid, a fan of Earth to Ned, or even his videos that he posts on his, is it Flavor? I cannot pronounce his YouTube channel. It's like Paul Rugg's. If you put Paul Rugg into YouTube, he's got an Icelandic / made up name for his YouTube channel. I can't remember the name. Flurgan Flavor, something like that. Anyway, it's brilliant. Anyway, where he has videos with his old dog Lucky, who attacked him while he was stroking her nice and peacefully. And he's now got interviews with Marge, his dog at the moment, his current dog. So it's just an all-round crazy ass, wonderful.
I was going to say, if that doesn't tell you all you need to know about Paul Rugg going into this interview, nothing else will.
But guys, please enjoy Jamie.
Hello,
Any
sir.
finale words, sir?
Just thank you, Paul. So much fun. We had an absolute wide of a time talking to you. So absolutely, everyone, go check this interview out and go watch some Animaniacs.
Absolutely. Paul, thank you for taking the time out to sit down and chat with us, even though I did disappear for 15 minutes. I am still so sorry about that. I promise I will make it back up to you again in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the Chronicles of Paul Rugg.
That's fine. That's a very good excuse.
Good. I thought it would be as much. So yeah. Now we're just going to bombard the hell out of you with questions, sir.
Okay, fine.
This
fine,
is me. I panic.
fine.
What I normally do is I do a little intro, and then we just, as Tom says, we throw a load of questions at you.
All right, cool. I'm here to be thrown at.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It's sort of the way this works.
Wonderful. Right. Ladies and gents, today's guest is a one of a kind and a man whose talents have helped contribute to so many of our favourite shows as a kid, most notably helping write the legendary Animaniacs and bring into life the hero simply known as Freakazoid. Today, he can be found hosting his own Disney Plus show as Ned in Earth to Ned. He's an actor, a writer, a puppeteer, and an all-over awesome dude. Please, everyone, welcome to USUK Chronicles, Mr. Paul Rugg.
Wow, that was wow. You know, I want you to like write all that down and email it to me. I'm going to put that in my bio. That's very good. That was all like, I was like, hey, you know what? That's who is that guy? He sounds amazing. So yeah. So I want every piece of that.
Lovely.
I love how well over my intros go. It's great.
Do a good job, sir. Do a good job. Paul,
Yeah.
how's the last year been, my friend? How's the last year been?
It's been, I think, like everyone else. Let's move on to 2024. Let's just sort of forget this all happened, and yeah. But yeah, just like everyone else, unpleasant. And luckily, we finished Earth to Ned back in December 2019, so we weren't affected by that.
Good.
But I was doing a sketch comedy show. I was sort of helping out this comedy group in Provo, Utah. They have a show, and we were just getting ready to do a show in front of like 300 people and on a weekly basis. And then it was like, nope, you're not going to do that. And so doing sketch comedy for no one and filming it, we did it, but man, just an audience. It's, I mean, just like everybody else, you're like, oh, whatever. So yeah, moving on, I guess.
Did you, I mean, that was quite weird, wasn't it? To like perform in front of nobody.
Yeah. And then it sort of forced us, or they wanted, the company behind it was like, you know, we really it needs to appear as this was in front of an audience. So let's do a laugh track. And what's amazing to me is the lost art of the laugh track. You know what I mean? It's like when I was a kid, laugh tracks were all over the place, whether you liked it or not. But I think that skill, like to go in and place laughs within something is an art form that I you know, and I know a lot of other people have had to throw in laugh tracks and stuff, but yeah, unpleasant. I don't like them. I see their use from time to time, but
Yeah.
blech. Yeah.
Can't say I blame you, to be fair. It must be so weird going back over and over again over things. So you don't find them funny after about the second or third time round. It's
yeah.
I guess we should put one in there, but now I feel weird. Is that funny anymore? And what's going on? So I can't imagine.
Plus, I think for me, part of my thought is that because these are recorded laughs, is a very good chance that most of these people are dead. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and it's like, you know, I think because they could have been recorded from the 60s for all I know. It's like there's a very good chance most of these people are now just no longer with us, and it added a little spice of irony to that. But anyway,
Could you not have like I'm trying to think like different varieties of laugh tracks, so like ha ha? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. We had the whole gamut, and you know, and button, and it was just, I don't like it. Sorry. I'm done.
I don't apologize to us. It's all good. But so obviously you've still been working during that time. Then did you have any time, like not like furlough necessarily, but time to like learn a new skill or teach yourself anything new during the whole lockdown?
Gosh, no. I've watched 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, more times than I can possibly tell you, because that's sort of my go-to. Well, I guess we don't have anything today, honey. I'll be in the bedroom watching 2001. Because Kubrick was trying to communicate something to me, and I'm going to find out what it is. That's sort of. But no, I didn't learn a skill. I should have. I shouldn't have wasted so much time on 2001. But it's going to come in handy one day. I just know it.
So you're not found out what he's trying to tell you yet, then?
That he was like really brilliant, and no one will ever come close. I think that's basically what I always get at. Kubrick for me is like, it's fascinating. I saw 2001 when I was a kid. My parents took me in I forget when it came out, 1968 or something, and we sat in the very front row, and this movie unspooled, and when we all stood up, my parents were like, "Man, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. That was, son, we're very sorry that we." And I was like, "Oh, this wild monkeys in space!" And I think it's because I was a kid, but that movie for me is like, it is just the most incredible thing. And I think in watching, The Shining, or Dr. Strangelove, or other movies he did, Kubrick is my go-to whatever. So anyway, you probably didn't want to talk about Kubrick, but I love talking about Kubrick.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. We can talk about whatever the hell you want, Paul. It's all good.
Good. Excellent.
So take us back. How did this all start for you? Was the plan to be an actor or a writer or something entirely different? Because you do so many different things. What was the original plan?
There was no plan, which is sort of like the sort of been my style. I graduated college, and then I got like a management job at a talk radio company, and I was the worst. I think I was production manager. And I was the worst at it because I didn't care. So it was terrible. It was like, did you record that copy for that affiliate in, Wisconsin? And I was like, wait, oh, no, I didn't. Anyway, so that was sort of the story. That was sort of it was a very bad job to have right after college. And then I joined a sketch comedy group called LA Connection. And what's amazing about the LA Connection, it's an improv group in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. And virtually everyone went through the LA Connection at that time. That was sort of the mid 80s, like everyone, and learned virtually nothing. And then a friend of mine, Adam Carolla. I don't know if you know Adam Carolla. Adam is
yeah, I know of Adam Carolla.
Yeah, Adam's a podcaster here. So I joined a group with him. It was just starting out, a sketch comedy / improv group called the Acme Players in North Hollywood, and had a great time, like honing sketches, putting it in front of an audience, seeing what they laughed at, seeing what they didn't laugh at. And just at that time, they were coming up with Animaniacs. So they sort of visited the different clubs, and because they decided they wanted Animaniacs to have a very sketchy, very like, you know, boom, 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 boom way of writing. So they gave me a sample script. They gave John McCann, who was also in the group, a sample script. We turned them in and then offered us jobs. And that was so that was my first like real job where it's like you walk in and people go, "Good morning, and would you like coffee? And we hope that script is going to be finished by Friday." And you're like, "Oh, okay, I guess it will be." And by the way, Steven Spielberg is the executive producer, and you're like, "I'm sorry, who?" Anyway, it was awesome. You know, I can't. It's so hard to quantify how great Animaniacs was. I mean, I'm so glad that it turned out great, but just in making it, it was kind of the last times in the 90s where it was like everybody from the company on down, they just were like, whatever it takes to have a great show and to make Steven happy. You know, and we would walk around the office, well, I hope Steven reads my script. You know, we were just all very, it really pumped us up to really do a great job. And from that, I've learned a lot, which is, I think when we did Animaniacs, we had the creator of the show, Tom Rugg, who is a brilliant guy, brilliant. And we sort of worked for him, and then he would send the scripts to Steven. That was the chain of command. It was simple. It was easy. Shows I've done since, you know, you've got middle management, you've got Pete, you know, down there who handles this, and Pete reads your script. And then there's, you know, Sandra, who's Sandra's great at this. She likes to read Pete's notes. And then so you got Sandra reading Pete's notes. And it's like all these people it goes through. And it's like, we didn't have any of that. It was just like, it was like you wrote it. Steven went, yeah, that's fun. Or yeah, I don't think we want to make that one. And then you sort of move on. But nowadays, you know, having sort of been through the ringer, it just doesn't work like that. You've got so many people involved in your business of just writing something silly. And I think, and if we had that on, and Animaniacs Freakazoid was even better, because I don't think anyone really liked Freakazoid. Steven loved it, which was great. But the WB, which was our first network that we were like written for, the WB, they kind of hated it, and we know they hated it because they kind of said, "We hate this," and so we're like, okay, well, then I guess you guys hate it. But Steven liked it, and we were having a great time. And pretty soon, they just didn't give us notes anymore. It was just like, whatever. And we just started doing our own thing. So we had Steven really digging it. You know, he would call us, or he would text and say, "Man, I don't know what this show is, but it's the stupidest thing, and I love it." And we'd be like, "Okay." So yeah. So that time at Warner Brothers, I would say from like 92 to when I left in 97 was yeah, just amazing and magical and great and wonderful. So yeah. I don't think I answered your question, but I sort of.
I think you answered about 6 of my questions without even knowing it. Don't worry about it.
All right, because I just went off. All right, I'm done.
We love it. No, we love it. Well, that's what we want. We don't. People listen to us enough. They don't want to hear from you. So,
yeah, cool.
I mean, so when obviously the writing process, everything, did you get people being like, "This is an idea we have, run with it," or was it like, "Go nuts"?
For Animaniacs, so it would start with, we would meet with Tom and Sherry Stoner, who is the story editor. We'd sort of go in his office and just sort of go, "Hey, I have this idea for like one of mine was they meet Einstein and they try to sell him, you know, Boy Scout, Girl Scout cookies or whatever." And that was the thread of it. And then it was like, great, you have a week. And
Fuck.
and that was it. And in the so the way it works now is you go, I have an idea where the Yakko Wacko Dot want to meet Einstein. It was like, great. If you could put that in a paragraph for us, we would love to see it. So then you're like, well, all right, fine. So blah, blah, blah. And you write this paragraph and then you hand it in. And then 3 days later, they go, great. If you could make an outline of what that is. And you're like, okay. So then you do like a page. So that's the way it works now. Back in the day, it was like, go, fine. They meet Einstein. And we had no idea, and we all wrote in individually. We didn't write as teams or anything, and we would bump into each other's office. You had a week, and you had to make the idea work. And the great thing about that is because you're not working off an outline, because you're not working off of a premise or anything, you're just sort of going. It goes wherever you woke up that day, decided it would go.
Yeah.
You didn't have to follow. Well, I told him it was going to be this, so I gotta do that. I can't tell you how many Animaniacs scripts I'd get 6 pages into, and they were generally about 12 or 13, 14 pages. You get 6 pages in, you go, man, I hate this, and you go, or I would just say, fine, and I would start over and write something else. So that was sort of the process. It was just boom, go right and come back, and hopefully it's good. So yeah.
So like I was saying about the Animaniacs, it's such a wacky show and it's so unique. I don't think there's anything like it before or since.
Right.
How was that show pitched to you?
So they sent over back in the day when you were trying to get a writing staff, you would send over what they call the Bible. And the Bible is like, let's say 50 pages a stack of pages of, here are the characters, here's what we think their catchphrases are, just a lot of blah, 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 right? And I was like, boy, I don't really understand this. But then there was something in it that I went, okay, I get it. And it said basically these characters are the Marx Brothers, and I was like, okay, done. So I'm a big fan of like Groucho and all that. Their movies are amazing. So for me, that was the end. It was like, great. So Yakko is Groucho. Wacko is Harpo, who hardly ever talks, and Dot is Chico, I think. Oh boy, you have one of them. Someone look it up. But that was it. And if you ever watch like Not at the Opera, Duck Soup, a Day at the Races, if you watch those old Marx Brothers from the 30s, that's basically the wellspring from where the Yakko Wacko Dot sprung from.
So with the writing, obviously we briefly touched on it then. Was it a case of, you all write whatever you want to write, or it's a case of, right, you work on Wacko skits, you work on Pinky in the Brain skits, you work on this skit?
At the beginning, we were all sort of assigned to Yakko Wacko Dot. But then, so Peter Hastings, who's an amazing writer, no one had tackled Pinky in the Brain yet. No one had touched them. So Peter went off and he sort of, in that first script, which is called Win Big, which is a whole, where they go on Jeopardy, I think it was called Jip Parody. It was in that first script that basically Peter figured everything out about Pinky in the Brain. Gee, Brain, are you thinking what I'm thinking? That's the first iteration of that joke. What are we doing tonight, Brain? The same thing we do every night, Pinky trying to take over the world. And it's that, so then Peter became the Pinky in the Brain guy. So he was sort of moved off into that. Deanna Oliver, she sort of really loved writing The Goodfellas, which was our sort of take on, the Goodfellas and Casino. So she sort of became that. Sherry Stoner sort of moved into Slappy Squirrel. Myself, John McCann, we sort of were given, like, my main task was Yakalakodot. That's sort of what I did. And then Randy Rogel, who did all of our songs and stuff, he was always in a corner of the building with his piano, you know, always going, you know, and we're like, okay, Randy, enough with the song. Stop with the song. United States, Canada, Mexico, we got it.
I was gonna say that must have been a nightmare to listen to going on.
Oh yeah, no, but it was like a zoo. It was a zoo, and we were also, our office at that time was in Sherman Oaks, at the world famous Sherman Oaks Galleria, which was the epitome of like where the Valley Girl came from, and so we were on like the 11th floor, and for lunch we would just go down to the mall. We would just, you know, take the elevator down, and now we're in the mall. And I think that really helped us because we were confronted with pop culture and all, you know, everything going on. And so, so that's sort of that's how we were broken up.
It's pretty cool. But with the humor in the Animaniacs as well, there's so much adult. I know it wasn't intended as adult content, but, you know, when you look back now, it's was that an intention to have those jokes for the parents in there, or was it just we're just going to write what we find funny? Kids will like it. It's cartoon.
It was the latter. It was like none of us wanted to write a kid show, right? So it was like what we wanted to do was make each other laugh, but with the idea that, you know, kids are going to have to understand this. But I will say that Animaniacs carries the Warner Brother tradition, which is, if you look at the old Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, all those cartoons were actually produced at a time during World War II, where cartoons were actually shown before movies like Casablanca, right? So if you were to go see Casablanca, you know, a very serious, you know, film, generally, if it was a Warner Brothers movie, there was always a Warner Brothers cartoon in front of it. Not geared towards kids, but geared towards an adult or teen audience. And I think that Animaniacs just sort of, like, if you look at Disney, and trust me, I love Disney, they're paying my bills right now, but Disney, please, could we just delete all the rest of it? No. Disney at that time was much more, you know, kids and you know, Mickey Mouse and stuff, and I think Warner Brothers was sort of a much more in-your-face answer to that idea. You know, Daffy getting his bill blown off, you know, repeatedly. If you look at those old cartoons, they are, and there's nothing offensive in it at all, but they are definitely dealing with adult themes. So I think Animaniacs, this is a very long-winded way. This is my very long-winded way of sort of getting to your question, which is we wrote them for ourselves, understanding that we could never leave the kid out. But we definitely wanted to make ourselves laugh. And I'll just go one more thing about what the Warner's way is. So if you have a group of kids sitting on a couch, the Warner Brothers way is let's say you have a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 17-year-old. The Warner Brothers idea is that the 17-year-old will laugh at something, and all the younger kids will turn and look and go, why was that funny? And then they'll be told, well, that's funny because. So it's sort of like is an education in comedy. That's sort of the Warner Brothers way. And unfortunately, I think children's television has become not that, which is like you are directly dealing with that 4-year-old, and you're only giving that 4-year-old what that 4-year-old can understand, which is rather than sort of like the rich tapestry of comedy. So that's there. I'm going to get off my soapbox now, and I'm.
I mean, do you think Animaniacs would stand up now because the culture now obviously is people seem to get offended by nearly everything.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I would hope so. I don't think we could get away with a bunch of stuff. But then on the other hand, maybe we could. Like, I believe it or not, I have not seen the new reboot yet, mostly because we don't have Hulu. But if we had Hulu, I would watch it. But I think they're pretty much following the same formula that we laid down, and hopefully that is showing people that, hey, sometimes just funny is just stupid and don't overthink it. So,
yeah, exactly. I don't understand why all of a sudden you have to now have cartoons directed, like you were saying about the Looney Tunes with Daffy Duck getting his bill blown off. I used to love those back in the day. Like, I've grown up to be quite a decent human, I think. I used to watch Animaniacs. I used to watch everything back as a kid. But I think there's so much back then that you couldn't play now. Because obviously everybody would be like, well, that's offensive to me because, I don't know, he's lost all his feathers and now he's naked. So I don't understand the concept of why all of a sudden everyone's like, well, I don't like that anymore because of this or that reason. I just think, I don't know, I think people need to grow up a little bit.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. I think that, maybe that'll all write itself out and stuff. But clearly comedy is based around, most comedy is based around pain, right? So it's like, if you look at Yakubov going against someone, and that's the way we used to say it, like, and Yakubov in the old days, in our iteration, they would always go against those people that sort of in their actions deserved it, and they were always hoity-toity people, and that harkens back to the Marx Brothers too. There used to be in every Marx Brothers movie, there was always this woman named Margaret Dumont, and who was always she was this rather large, sort of very haughty person, and she was this foil for them always to sort of make fun of. So I don't know.
So
there you go.
With the Animaniacs, obviously you came on as a writer, but you ended up doing several voices on the show. So how did that happen if you were there as a writer?
So Tom Ruger, our executive producer, he knew that he had seen me perform, and he knew that was something that I really wanted to get back to. But I didn't. I was just happy with a job. Where it was like, honey, guess what? We don't have to find quarters in the couch today. We can actually, there's something called a paycheck. So I was fine with it. But I used to do this really lame Jerry Lewis impression and drive everybody crazy. The whole la 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 la. And one day Tom said, why don't you take that character and write the Yakubov go against the most condescending comedian in the world. And so I was like, okay, if that's what you want, I'll do it. So I sort of wrote, that's where Mr. Director came from. And he became a really good foil for the three of them because, he was sort of based on Jerry Lewis, who by the way, I think is like royalty. I mean, Jerry Lewis is amazing. But there was a time in Jerry Lewis's life where if you would watch an interview with him, he became this like very serious man who would talk about comedy and its euphemisms and its explorationalisms. And he would use words that, by the way, never made any sense. And I loved that Jerry, because that Jerry was so like, what's happened to you? And he would be, because it's a cognizance, it's a knowing of the knowledge of comedy, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, man, if there was ever anyone for the Yakubov to go against, it would be this sort of bloviating comedic genius. And I think a lot of people thought that I was like making fun of Jerry. I was like, no, I actually love Jerry. I just find this particular Jerry a little bit hard to take. But anyway, so that's, yeah. And then from there, sometimes it would be like, well, who are they going to get to come be Einstein? Oh, Paul, you do it, or whatever. And so, yeah, that's how that occurred.
So how did you come up with the voices for the characters that you play?
For Mr. Director, it was clearly Jerry. So it was like, yeah, and it was just that all the time. For Einstein, it was your typically really bad, this sort of German child who's very chubby. Yeah, so it was that, like, they weren't like earth-shattering voices, but they got the job done.
That was perfection. That German accent was spot on.
Yeah. If you ever, yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go.
So obviously, Freakazoid came out of the Animaniacs. Was he always intended to get his own show, or was it just a character that went over really well?
No. So Freakazoid. So when we were, I think we were wrapping up our second season writing on Animaniacs, and Steven Spielberg, I think Warner Brothers went to him and said, "Hey, you wanna do anything else?" And he had said, "Yeah, you know what? I really like that Bruce Timm Batman. The Batman the Animated Series. Hey, maybe we do something like that." So Bruce Timm, who's like this amazing genius, and Paul Dini, who wrote a bunch of the Batmans, they sort of built Freakazoid to sort of fill that niche that Steven wanted. The problem is that it wasn't overtly comical. It was more edgy, and Steven, having now done Animaniacs before that, Tiny Toons, Picking the Brain, he wanted something much more in-your-face comedic. And Bruce Timm was like, that's not really my thing. So they gave it to Tom Ruegger. And I remember this was, the WB was going to premiere in 1995. So this is 1994. And the WB had already sold Freakazoid as being on the show. So he brought me in, he brought John McCann in and said, we got to figure out this show. So that's how Freakazoid was born.
It is so funny. I was watching some clips of him earlier, and it's the running around, like pretending he flies.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So what led you from leaving Animaniacs? Was it the program ended, or just you left the show?
No, so Freakazoid took over. So they basically said, you're not on Animaniacs anymore. You're now on Freakazoid. So Animaniacs went on, but Freakazoid became a priority. And by that time, I had written so many Animaniacs that it was like, oh, okay, good, something new. So that's how Freakazoid. That's how I got put on Freakazoid.
Fair enough. Because that must have been quite weird for you then, if you just did the voice of Freakazoid like on Animaniacs, like, so Paul, do you want your own show now?
That would have been nice. Yeah, no, the way. Actually, I wasn't supposed to be the voice on that. They, when we had written our pilot, they had a ton of auditions, and they brought in a ton of actors, but we didn't really know what to tell them. And so we brought in, some really amazing actors, and we kind of wasted their time because we didn't really know what this character was about. And Tom Ruegger said, "Hey, why don't you go in the booth and why don't you record what you think the character sounds like?" And from there, they played it for Steven, and we were really under the gun. There wasn't a lot of time, and Steven said, "Just have Paul do it." So that's basically how I got cast. I wasn't supposed to be that. So then I had double duty. I was not only the voice, but I was one of the main writers. So yeah.
You should know you definitely got all the best jokes.
Yeah. Actually, no. You know what's interesting? When I wrote Freakazoid, I gave most of the funny stuff to other characters, and I still don't know why I did like Cosgrove, the police chief. Yeah. It was fun though. It was great.
That's really good. So you've done so many different projects. I was looking at your IMDb and I was like, that's amazing. Like all the different projects you're in, like Buzz Lightyear, Dave the Barbarian, American Dragon, which is a program I completely forgot about from when I was a kid. That was so good.
Yeah.
Puss in Boots. But one thing I noticed is you play several characters in quite a few of these shows. Is that like a common thing with voice actors, or is it just showing your talent?
It's very common. It's very common because it's more economical for the production company, because as an actor, you're allowed to do 3 voices before they have to pay you more. So it's to their advantage to get the main core, and then from there you can get 3, right? So now, you know, if you look at people like Rob Paulson, who's brilliant, Maurice LaMarche, who's brilliant, Frank Welker, to give them 2 voices is no big deal. To give them 3 voices is no big deal. To give them 8 voices. But for me, sometimes it would be like, Paul, you're going to be this and also, you know, a man. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, what does that man sound like? And I would always stress over that. But that's very common.
You actually led beautifully into my next question. How do you differentiate each voice? Because obviously you've got to fool the audience. The audience isn't supposed to know that's the same person.
Yeah. Well, normally you're the director, the voice director, and in most of the shows I've done, it was the same voice director. Her name was Andrea Romano, and she's like an animation royalty. She's an amazing voice director, and she would just flat out say, "Nope, sounds too much like, you know, nope." And then you go, "Okay, shoot. Well, what if I change it like this? Okay, good, fine. Let's just do that." But for a show like Puss in Boots, where Artephius, the alchemist, you know, he was very, you know, he was a very specific voice. It was pretty easy to get away from that voice. Or Dave the Barbarian, which is just this high-pitched, you know, whiny piggy. I think Dave the Barbarian sort of sound like that. It's really easy to move away from that. It's where you're doing sort of middle of the range voices that they tend to bleed in.
Because I can imagine that can be quite a challenge sometimes, especially if you're doing so many. Like, I can't even remember what I did for the last guy.
Yeah, that's yeah. Normally, that's why they didn't always give me a bunch of voices in a show, because they're like, Paul, no. Yeah.
So one thing that's always confused me, I tripped over my own words, and when it comes to writing TV, and it's in your career, so I'm using you here to basically find out and answer the question I've always wondered. It's with writing credits, you quite often brought on for like one episode of a show. So what is the reason for that? Some shows don't have like, you write the whole series. Why is it sometimes you get brought on just to do one episode?
Well, so on Animaniacs, if I go back that far, we were a writing staff, right? I think there was Sherry Stoner, Deanne Oliver, Pierre Hastings, Randy Rugg, John McCann, Tom Minton. And we all, because there was so much, when you think about it, we had a 65 episode order, that first one. Each cartoon had, you know, pretty much, or each episode had 3 cartoons each. There was no way a team could write that. So it was like, okay, you'll do that one, you'll do that one, you'll do that, and you'll do that one. And we just sort of built it up like that. But a lot of times a show doesn't have a writing staff per se. It has a freelance writing staff where it's like, you know, you're not all there contributing. So that's why sometimes you see one person brought on for that, one person brought on for that. But there's just so much material. There's no way that you could write together. In fact, on Animaniacs, we rarely like to team up with each other because that slowed the process down, right? You have to go, what do you think? I don't know, what do you think? And it's like much better for one person's vision for each story to just go. So yeah.
I suppose that works better in that Animaniacs like skit environment as well anyway, because it's not like you're following a story per se. So.
Right. Yeah.
So obviously you're also a puppeteer, which is really, really cool. So how did that come about? Was that an interest you chased personally, or was someone come up to me like, want to learn?
Yeah. No, that's exactly how it happened. I mean, I loved the Muppet Show. I was a big fan, but never really thought about that as an avenue. Right after Freakazoid ended, I sort of was looking around, and I wrote a pilot for the Jim Henson Company. And based on that, they were think a couple years after that, they were developing an improvised puppet show called Puppet Up. But actually, no, I'm wrong. What they were doing was Brian Henson wanted to sort of recharge his puppeteers to feel that energy again. So he formed an improv group for no one to ever come and see, but just sort of an internal improv group for everybody to sharpen their comedy skills. And they invited me to that to sort of contribute crazy ideas, stuff like that. And based on that, they just taught me how to puppeteer. Then the show actually became a live stage show. We did the Aspen Comedy Festival. We then went to Edinburgh to do the Fringe Festival. Then we went to Australia, and we did a bunch of stuff. So every night in front of 1,000 people, we would just do improv with puppets in front of an audience. So that's basically how I learned how to puppeteer. And I will tell you this, I'm not as good. I'm really lousy compared to these amazing puppeteers like Drew Massey, Alan Troutman, Bill Beretta, Brian Henson. They're just like, it's in their blood.
Literally Brian Henson.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right.
That's really cool though. You started your career in improv and then you learn this new skill. Like, let's put these two together.
Yeah. It was fun.
That was really cool. So from puppets, that leads very nicely into Earth to Ned, which I've got to admit, I'll put my hand on my heart and say I hadn't really heard of it before I was doing the research for this show. I'd seen it on Disney Plus, but I've never really looked into it. So I watched an episode earlier on today before we jumped on, and it's absolutely brilliant. I'm going to go back and watch the rest because it is superb. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke. It is brilliant. But for people that haven't heard of it, how would you describe this? Because it's so unique.
Earth to Ned is a talk show hosted by an alien who was sent to Earth by his race to take over Earth and to wipe it out, as they have done countless times throughout the galaxy. The problem is that when Ned got to Earth, he sort of fell in love with pop culture and celebrity culture, and so rather than destroy the Earth, he decided that he would do the next best thing, which is interview celebrities and celebrate humanity. And that's kind of the way Brian Henson, pitched it. When I went in for my audition, he was like, "Look, this show is hopeful. It's fun. There's not an ounce of negativity in it. It's about this alien who loves humans and everything about humans, and most especially the celebrities, because he's really into celebrity culture and pop culture. And he wants to learn all about being a human. So that's basically what the show is. And it was so fun to do. So fun.
I watched the episode of Alan Tudyk in it.
Yes.
And oh my God, that guy's hilarious in general. And then you put put him on that show, and I was in tears. I was like, this show is brilliant. So,
good, excellent.
But how did this come about? Because obviously, it's one of the. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this one of the first original programs on Disney Plus?
Well, actually, Disney Plus had started. I think we were in production just as Disney Plus actually hadn't even premiered yet. So yeah, we were destined to be one of their first shows, but then COVID happened and post-production sort of threw that all off. So I think we premiered in September of 2020, and we did 2 seasons, and the second season is now dropped. But yeah, we were one of the first shows.
That's good.
Produced for them. Yeah.
That's got to be quite an honor, considering how huge Disney Plus is now.
Yeah. No, it is. It is, and I'm hoping that we get another go.
I really hope we do, because it is absolutely wonderful.
Oh, good. Good.
I see my co-host as a
I'm
rejoiner.
so sorry. That's never happened before. The internet just cut out. That was it. Done.
Oh, I know you went and mowed your lawn, but that's fine.
I did. To be fair, Paul, I was sat there, I was going, oh, really? It really is doing. I should probably go do that right now. I was like, they won't notice I slip off for 10 minutes. But I'm just going to jump in because I've known it's happened in the past 10 minutes, but your YouTube channel.
Yes.
What is it called? How do you pronounce that?
It's called, okay, so I have no idea. It's called Paul Rugg's Freundleben. Freundleben is one of the words that Mr. Director and Animaniacs would say. He would go, Freundleben, which is a Jerry Lewis sort of exclamation. And so when I decided like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I go, you know what, I'm just going to put stupid stuff on YouTube. It said, great, what do you want to name this? And I was like, oh man, I don't know. Oh, Freundleben, fine. Freundleben. I have no idea what that means, but it won't even matter. So, yeah. And I only, the reason I put stuff on YouTube, most of which like have 4 views, it's still great though, is, it's just fun to do stupid things. And I think only one of them, or a couple of them, all involving my Chihuahua. Those are the ones that people are like, oh, Chihuahua, great. You know, but the ones that I spend like months editing, they're like, yeah, whatever. But your Chihuahua, that's what we want. So fun. So
because that video with Lucky where you're talking about how dogs are better than cats went viral, went mental.
Yeah.
Because I remember being on Facebook and going, what's this video? So I watched it, found it absolutely hilarious. And then when I was conducting my research, I was like, no fucking way! I remember that video. So I was just putting my mind a little bit. But the one, the lift as well, was really funny. Really.
Oh,
the microphones, so good.
Yeah, one of very few times my wife actually lets me sort of borrow her to be in videos. Normally she's like, I don't ever want to be with, no. And I was like, hey, I have this idea. And she goes, okay. So she did it, and that was great. But the Lucky one, which was shot on that, I'm pointing. That's the chair. No
way.
That's a new dog. That's Marge, by the way. But anyway,
hi, Marge.
Marge, she's been drinking. The Lucky video was my friend. I have a friend named Tom Wilson. Tom, it was Biff in Back to the Future. I don't know if he was.
Yeah,
and he's.
I emailed him the other day.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy. He's like one of the smartest, most brilliant people I know. And anyway, Tom and I did a show together on Nickelodeon called Pig Open Banana Cricket, and we had 2 years of a lot of fun. I think 4 people saw the show, but we had fun and we were paid, so that's the most important thing. But anyway, Tom was over at the house here one day, and I was holding Lucky because Maria, my wife, had to go do something, and I had to hold Lucky, I think keep him from getting out of the house. And I rested my hand on him, and Lucky started biting me, which is what this dog does, which is what a lot of Chihuahuas are like that. He loves my wife, but I even look at him the wrong way, and he attacked me. And Tom said, you know what you should do? You should do a video where Lucky just bites you while you're petting him. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Who the heck's going to watch that? So one day I was riding, and then as soon as I finished riding for the day, I asked my wife, I said, can I borrow Lucky for like a minute? And she goes, why? And I go, I'm just going to do a really stupid thing. So I sat there, put up the camera, did it in one take, put it up on Facebook for my friends to see, because I was like, no one is going to care. And mostly to prove to Tom that I actually listened to his idea. I put it up on Facebook, went about my business. And the next thing you know, I'm getting all these calls saying, are you the guy with a Chihuahua? And I'm like, yeah. Is it out? Do I need to go pick it up or something? And it's like, what's the deal? And they're like, well, your little video, I think it passed like 1 million in like an hour or something. It was nuts.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is odd. Having spent most of my life struggling over scripts for weeks and crying and going, no, there's a comma after the Y. To sit in that chair and just sort of go, for like a minute and to have people go, well, this is your legacy. Your chihuahua will bite you, and this is what you'll be known for the rest of your life. I'm like, okay, fine. So, yeah, it was crazy.
It's like, Paul, can we book you? What, for Animaniacs? No. Freakazoid? No. Earth to Ned? No. Your dog, Lucky. No. We just want your dog.
Yeah. No, it's true. In fact, I got an email the other day. It was like from someone in Japan. It was like, hello, we like your dog. Can your dog? It was something about Lucky, and I had to break the news to them. Unfortunately, Lucky died, which he did last year. Yes, he was old, and it was a very sad day, but Lucky passed away. But trust me, I've been thinking maybe, to talk to my wife, maybe we should get another Chihuahua. But anyway, so yeah, Lucky was amazing. He was the sweetest little guy. It's just that I could never pet him, or he would just attack me. And then once you start petting him, he'd be like, "Hey, what do you want to go do?" But that was, yeah. He was great.
Looks like you're at Marge.
She quits the day drinking, yeah.
Hey, for you later.
We went off a complete tangent then. I didn't actually finish my questions about Earth to Ned.
Sorry.
So I was just gonna say, obviously you did the voice of Ned, but do you puppeteer Ned and do the voice?
Yes.
That's amazing. So do you do that at the same time, or was the voice recorded after?
No, we do it all at once. What was so amazing. Ned takes 6 puppeteers to do in tandem. So there is a performer inside the actual body, and he's sitting in a little chair, or she is, I'm sorry, it's Morgana, and sort of moving the body like this back forward. And then Donna Kimball is in the front with the first 2 hands. And then we have puppeteer on either side doing these hands. Next standing, and I'm like 20 feet away. And I've got this rig. It's basically, it's this crazy contraption that I put my hand in, and it has all kinds of different axes. So it goes this way, it goes this way, it goes this way, it goes this way. And depending on how I move my hand within this rig, it causes the lips to come together, to go wider. And then standing next to me is Alan Troutman, who's this amazing puppeteer, and he's just doing Ned's eyes. So I'm doing the voice and sort of leading what the discussion's going to be. I'm talking, I'm doing the mouth, but all the other puppeteers are sort of working off of that, and all of us are sort of creating the character live. So at first, when we started, it was like, it was awful because we didn't know each other then. Ned would be like, but then after about a month of rehearsals, because Brian was like, you guys got to be locked in a room for a month. So we were in the Jim Henson Creature Shop for a month, just improvising and coming up with Ned's moves and stuff. And then when we actually started, we never thought about it again. We just sort of ran and did it. And I think the biggest compliment is, and what's kind of cool is that people think it's just this one character, but 6 of us are working at the same time to pull it off. It's great. It's fun.
Crazy.
That is amazing. So what's coming up next for you then? What are you working on that you can talk about?
It's hopefully another season of Earth to Ned, and then I'm developing a new animated series that I can't talk about, unfortunately. But it's sort of the love child of Freakazoid. I will just say it's bizarre and silly and weird, and but it's not got anything to do with Freakazoid. But had we been given a 3rd season of Freakazoid, it would sort of have been like this. So that's basically it.
That's amazing. Tom, have you got any more questions?
Yes, Mr. Rugg.
That's very formal, wasn't it?
Yes.
Did you ever
As a matter of
think?
fact, I do.
I'll do it. So, like, yes, absolutely. No. Did you ever think that life would turn out the way it has? Did you ever think that Animaniacs would be as big as it is and things would just blow up for you?
No. I mean, no. Definitely not Animaniacs. And by the way, it's like, as you probably know, like in everybody's life, there are highs and then there are troughs, and so it's like you wait and then you sit around for a year and then something good happens and then there's a trough. But I remember right before, I think the week before Animaniacs premiered, I was taking a walk because we would take a break. We would walk around the mall and then walk outside. And I remember walking with Peter Hastings, who I mentioned before, who was also a writer on Animaniacs. So we're walking and I was like, Peter, are we just gonna be killed? Are people are gonna hate this show that we've come up with? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe. It's who knows? And it's like, so you never know. You never know. Like, we didn't know that people would like it. And I'm really glad they did. And with Freakazoid, I'll tell you, when we were doing Freakazoid, we had crickets, right? It's like no one cared, no one really, liked it. And then now with time, people are saying, "Hey, Freakazoid, wow, that was amazing." But when we make it, we didn't get a lot of love for it. So I think the answer to that is you never know if people are going to like your stuff or when they will like your stuff, but to just always do what you do. And sometimes that's going to be a hit and sometimes it's going to be a miss. But that's sort of life. And just do what you do. And, I don't know. That's sort of my answer to that.
Amazing. Right, before we let you go, we have a quick little game we like to play. And we call it the quick fire round. It's literally 5 questions and you answer them as quick as you can. Nice.
Oh boy, that's hard for me. Okay, all right, I have my pen. Go.
Favorite pizza topping?
Pepperoni.
Very popular answer. Your favorite Muppet?
Miss Piggy.
Oh, good answer. The first concert you ever went to?
Beach Boys.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Who would play you in the movie of your life?
Shoot. Ryan Gosling.
An excellent answer, sir.
Perfect answer. Perfect answer.
There you go. Okay.
And last but not least, a piece of advice you would give to a younger version of yourself.
Don't worry. Don't
Wonderful.
worry.
Nice. Very nice.
Simple. I like it. Paul, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for doing this.
It was fun. All right. Thank you, guys.
Before we get out of, is there any social medias, any websites, anything you want people to make sure they check out?
Well, you can go if you're brave enough or strong enough. You can check out my really stupid YouTube page, which is Paul Rugg's Freundleben. And if you wanted to follow me on Instagram, although I don't know why you would, but if you were of a mind to do that, it's Rugg, RUGG1. And that's my, don't ask me why I did that. Again, it was one of those things. What do you want your thing to be called? I'm like, and so anyway, there it is. That's it.
Incredible. Again, thank you so much for doing this. It's been so much fun.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Have a great day. Have a great day. Thank you, Paul.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey there. I'm Frank Guglielmelli, and I'm the narrator for the audio drama Feed, featuring such audio dramas as Bounty Hunters, Marty and Mars, Val Toby, and so much more. You can find all of these wonderful programs on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Or you can go to our website at www.audiodramafeed.com. We are thrilled to be affiliated with the Chronicles of Podcast with Tom and Jamie.